Back, February seems to be library reopening month, at least around Northeast Wisconsin anyway. The $40 million New Appleton Public Library is going to open its door on February 15th. But this Saturday, Menasha will cut the ribbon on its newly renovated Elisha Smith Public Library. This 9-month project cost $9 million, half of that funded by the Menasha Corporation and its founding family, the Elisha Smith family. From playtime to podcast producing, 3D printing to cooking classes, video conferencing to video checkouts, this is not your parents' library. Time to take a field trip to see and learn more. And we welcome you into the Menasha Library, the new look Menasha Library, along with Library Director Brian Kopetsky. So Brian, this has come together pretty rapidly. Are you impressed with one? It's a significant makeover, but in a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah, it's very impressive. I kind of surprised that we were able to get everything done as fast as we were, and as well as it's come together.
When you come through the door every morning, do you still catch yourself going, yeah, this is not the same place?
I do. The main thing is the lighting. It was a little bit darker, different feel to it for sure. And coming through the door and seeing literally every space was touched. Every surface looks different than it did before, so it's been pretty astounding.
So where are we now? This looks like the kids area, but how different is it from the old kids area?
So the old kids area where we're standing right now actually used to be a set of offices for our staff. One of the big things we wanted to do with this project is try to get our team out of the way. We moved them upstairs, so all of our spaces for the on the first floor, mainly for the public. This is our open story time space.
Okay.
And outside of this area, we actually have a patio space. Most of our spaces are open. One of our goals was to change how the library is used, as far as most libraries or older libraries are set up to be based on age. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to base the usage on how the space is actually being used and for what purposes. So story time area, active play areas, creator areas like SmithWorks.
All right, we're going to get to that SmithWorks in just a second, but for those who wonder about, oh, a library, it's open and the kids area is open, all of a sudden it starts to become a little more noisy, if you will. You have created a really nice quiet space here as well. I'm assuming those two went hand in hand.
Yeah, so the reality of how we've seen usage change in libraries is libraries aren't loud, but they're also not the quiet places that the stereotypes kind of play into. So the usage tends to be 80% of the people are working at a normal office, we'll say office volume. And then say 20% of the people want it to be just quiet. So we kind of created our spaces to fit with how that usage is. So we've got quiet reading spaces, we've got study rooms, we've got smaller meeting rooms that allow for those quiet places to work, but allow things to be a little bit louder in the rest of the library.
And workspaces too, with video conferencing will be set up so people get just a person of one can have video conferencing and have meetings with anywhere. So all of this seems to buck the trend of, you mentioned how libraries used to be.
Yes.
This is not how libraries used to be.
No.
And that's by design.
It absolutely by design. I guess the old, again, that stereotype library was come in, get your stuff, go home. We don't really want you to hang around. we kind of like our space. This is just the opposite. We want people to be able to spend time here in the library.
Does it make for a better connected community, you think?
Absolutely. I think 100%. One of the things that we're very purposely trying to do is we've got lots of technology. We want to buck the trend that we're old school. We're not keeping up with the times. At the same time, we also want to pry people out from behind their monitors and have them come in and gather together, because the conversation you have when you're face-to-face with someone is so much stronger than you can do over a computer.
As promised, we are now inside SmithWorks, and this looks like no library I've ever seen before. What is happening in here?
So SmithWorks is our library hands-on learning and creator space. This space is dedicated to giving people the tools that they typically don't have access to at home. One of the things, again, we very intentionally did is we've got tools that are hands-on, paintbrushes, markers, crayons, all that kind of stuff, but also going towards the other end where we lean into the technology a little bit more with the 3D printers, laser cutter, the sound booth, computers, all of that stuff. So we're trying to tie typically like artisan projects, arts, together with technology, with the end goal of kind of creating career paths for people to follow as they explore.
Okay, so one of the things we talked about earlier was this is not your traditional library. This idea isn't born in this room. You started doing it, you were telling me earlier, downstairs.
Yes.
I'm sure it's expanded, but it's also highly visible to the rest of the library. You have open windows all the way through this. So again, libraries are quiet places, no time for distraction. This is going to be a very active space. By design so that other people could see it?
So I guess first off, I would argue that a library isn't a quiet place, it's a place of learning. And in the past, a lot of that learning has happened through the books and things like that you take home with you. Now we've shifted towards a place where you come in and you learn hands-on. That's what this is. That space downstairs was basically to see if there was an interest. There certainly was. We had over 6,000 people use that space in the 20 months it was open before we actually went forth with, or went ahead with our renovation project. So there's a desire to have that kind of learning in the community.
A kitchen in a library for culinary classes. Where did this idea come from?
So again, this isn't super new in libraries. There's libraries all over the country that have had culinary classes or cooking classes within their libraries. Really, again, we're trying to lean into the hands-on.
When you put all this together and you open the doors on Saturday morning, 10 a.m., and you're going to cut the ribbon at noon, what are you hoping the reaction is going to be? If there's one word you hear as a reaction from the folks that come in for the first time, what do you hope that is?
In the short run, I guess I'm hoping that everyone's going to be kind of awestruck by how much different the library is than it was before. In the more tangible goal, I guess, is I want the people of our community to be proud of what we have in this community. Menasha has had its ups and downs throughout time, and I want people to look at this library and go, look at this thing we have in our community. We're very proud of it, and it can be a launch pad for all kinds of endeavors for all of our community members.